So today we're going to talk about watercolor. I wanted to show you a process, in-process drawing. I've been working on this for a while, from thumbnail sketches, ideas, to getting it to a place where I want to add watercolor. Even though these areas are not defined at this time, I like to start blocking in some lights and lights and darks into the composition so I can start balancing those lights and darks and have some harmony within the composition itself. But I have the dry area here. This is a little watercolor that I've already added. Then I'll be coming in and adding a wet wash on top of it. Now you might like to keep it like that, or you might want to make it darker, and that's what we'll do here today. I do have an area down here that I want to go quite a bit darker. Now I'm working from a photograph. This is not from a photograph, but this area right here will be a flower of sorts, and that will kind of evolve and be part of this cycle, this life cycle that I have started. So with that, I'm going to get a little bit of water and a little bit of pigment. And sorry, I don't have this set up so that you can see me putting watercolor on my paper. That might be another demonstration, or I've got a whole lot of great equipment to work with instead of a cell phone. Could make a huge difference. But here we go. And I'm going to go ahead and show you what happens when we go ahead and knock in this area. Now, depending on the size, I'm going to go to a larger brush so I can go in quickly. Now, you want to do lots and lots of practice and how to control the amount of water you put in. I always tap. I always, tap my glass cup or my glass to take a little bit of the watercolor out. So by working on an angle too, this table surface is at a slight angle. There's a lot of ways you can do that at home. You put a board and a brick underneath a board, or a book underneath a board, and then you're ready to go. So when I was your age, I worked at all kinds of crazy ways to get started. Now you can see how this is starting to bleed, and what I want to do is start pulling this. I'm going to go a little bit darker in this corner, and I will be pulling this watercolor. I'm going to add a little more water to the pigment, thins it out just a little bit, and as a result it lightens the value. So keep working. And you can keep, if you want an even more subtle gradient, subtle gradation, come back and pick up some of this really deep blue pigment and begin to pull it down. You can hear my little ding, ding, ding. That's the brush hitting. And I'm adding some more water and slowly, gradually taking it out. So that and I'm pulling down too. That's another thing you might, it's easier to work with when you're slowly, gradually pulling some. So you may want to turn your paper sideways, work it from different angles to constantly be working with. Now this is a dry value, and it's a dry paper, so it's going to be a little bit different. You have a little bit different control over it. And I recommend that you work with a better paper, if possible. If you're working with a real inexpensive drawing pad paper, there will be some buckling, but be okay with that. If you work in small areas, it won't buckle as much. But you... So I need to concentrate here for a minute, so I'm going to stop talking to you. I'm adding some water. I want this I'm going to pull it down. Want this to be a nice blend, so I'm going back into this area a little bit. And I'm going to grab a little more water. And this is what you do when you have a mistake. You have a paper towel and your hand, I did not, I had it on the table, but keep a paper towel in your hand so you can easily make corrections. Notice this is starting to water up here. It's a lot of water. So I'm going to pull some of that water up, but it's still almost it's at a place where you could say it's about to. So you take a little towel and just blot out that corner. You take out the excess water. And I'm coming in now with a pretty dry brush. I pulled it out of the water and then I put it on a paper towel for a second before I brought it over here. So this is working dry. You can see there's a little difference in the pigment. But you can also, if you have a little bit of color on your brush, you know where it's going to go. And then if you're not happy with it, you can take your towel, and while it's wet, you can pull quite a bit of pigment out, and you can go back in, say if you wanted to do a different color, or if you wanted to go even lighter. Let's say this just went, oh my goodness, you know, it's way too dark, much darker than I wanted it to be. You can come in and go back over it with a white gouache later on. Now I want to go up in this corner just a little bit. Go a little bit darker. Hi, Susie. My dog just came in. She's on her bed scratching now. So that value change, this little change in value really gets that going up and under. I'm going to go with a little bit lighter value here. Leave a little white area there. Pull the water. I'm going to leave this tip white corner here, so I'm going to take it out right there. A lot of it has to do with the amount of pressure. Sometimes if it's not quite dry, let's see what happens. You can take care and start pulling some of this pigment down and do a little blend. I think it was too dry. So that's it.